wrap up with tour manager John Spencer. We haven't got any opening comments, so I'm going to ask Russ to kick us off as the last time.
John, I think congratulations on a great tour in terms of the success on the field. What's the feeling a few hours on having drawn the series and having achieved so much but not quite winning it?
It was a very strange atmosphere in the changing rooms yesterday, and I think it was probably the same in both changing rooms, that we hadn't quite done what we set out to do, but in the cold light of day I think the boys are realising what an incredible achievement it is. You know, we've talked many times about coming to New Zealand to back-to-back world champions, and we know the record of other countries at Eden Park, and we know the record of New Zealand in their Super Rugby fixtures recently. So to come here and not to take a step backwards, as it were, was our objective. And you know, there were times when we could have run away with it right at the end of yesterday's game, a couple of opportunities which a lot of people might think it wouldn't have been fair, but I think the boys will in the long run be happy with their achievements.
And for the Lions as a whole, do you feel that the brand and the concept has kind of been re-galvanised by what's happened on the hop?
Absolutely. I think we do rely on the success of Lions tours now and again, and I think suffice it to say that I think these boys, both the players, the team of players and the team behind the team, have now put the Lions in a very special place.
John, could you say a few words on Captain's performance as head coach and also his demeanour and kind of keeping his counsel until
well, set a Kiwi to catch a Kiwi. You have to be a very shrewd coach to come to New Zealand and to achieve what the players achieved yesterday. I will tell you, without doubt, I think he's the best coach in the world, the best head coach.
What do you think is Elijah's thoughts of his future? He said last night, he sort of said never say never in terms of leaving Ireland in 2021.
Never say never. I think that a lot will happen in the next 4 years. I think that he will be in very big demand all over the world, and that's his decision. As far as I'm concerned, I think I'll be too old. You guys tell me I'm too old now, so I'll probably be too old in 4 years' time.
John was part of Warren's narrative in the media the last 6 weeks. Was that partly the pressure of his players?
I don't think so. You talk to Warren regularly, and he's a very straight guy. There are one or two things that he will want to get out in the press, and there are one or two things that he'll keep to himself because he doesn't want to give any secrets away. But he doesn't do things intentionally to either encourage people or rile them. I think he likes to take a middle path. He was very interesting in the team talk yesterday to the boys. I think he was absolutely spot on. He talked to them all about them all having played big games in the past and been successful, so they knew what was required of them. He talked about their character, and he talked about going after the All Blacks, not watching them play or altering our styles of play to meet theirs. We were going after them. They were going to have to cope with us, and I think that's over the whole tour. I think that's probably what happened.
John, you yesterday in some of the papers about how ridiculous it is that you weren't invited, or the Lions weren't invited to the San Francisco meeting. Do you think a player like Sam Warburton or maybe Martin Johnson should also be represented on those things to actually give that kind of insight as to what it all means?
I think the most important thing, I've said plenty on that particular topic. I don't particularly want to say any more because I don't want to take anything away from the guys who've achieved what they achieved yesterday. But I do think that we really need to sit down, all the stakeholders, yes, including perhaps ex-Lions who know what the Lions is about. They get the creed, the concept of the Lions, and surely it's not beyond the wit of man to come to some sensible agreement just for a couple of weeks every 4 years. And that's what I would encourage people to do. As I said earlier, I think the players now have put the Lions in a very special place, and we don't want to lose that. We want to progress that, we want to encourage it, we want to inspire people to take part in the Lions.
Did you get encouragement, John, from the board meeting that what your aspirations are made?
Yes, absolutely. And the board are very receptive, to our suggestions and the experience of certainly myself and the last couple of tour managers who have been exceptionally logical and sensible about it. I think that everybody has now discussed it, and we've agreed that we need to sit down and talk about it, and we need to talk about it in a friendly and positive way. And I think there are good signs that there is a positive way forward on all this.
John, it's the first draw since 1955. When you all discussed it last night, did that sit comfortably with you, or were people saying there should be some sort of mechanism for deciding a winner?
I think the boys who played would sit comfortably with it. I think probably the coaches would. There's always that slight disappointment in the mind of a player when you finish exactly where you started after a lot of very hard training, selection, and you've put absolutely everything into the tour after a hard season. But I think the reality is that we don't play extra time in any international Six Nations or anything like that, and why should this be any different?
John, there was talk of a win bonus. Is there a tie bonus, and are the two the same?
I hope so. No, I don't think so. I've not heard the word mentioned, bonus mentioned in our discussions, in the last 24 hours. I don't think anybody's interested in that. But no, I don't think there'll be any bonuses for a tie. But as I say, I think there are things that are far more to the fore of both, in the minds of both the management and the players.
Have you any idea, John, what happens with the trophy?
No, I've no idea. I suspect there are two, like there are with a lot of others. There'll be a replica. But I don't know what happens to it, to be honest with you.
John, there's always plenty of chat about wanting to leave the Lions jersey in a better place to where it was found, given where it was left in 2013. How well do you feel that's possible?
I think the expectations are greater with every Lions tour that you go on. And so I think with the achievements of New Zealand, the All Blacks, over the last 4 years, when you take that into account, I think they've left these jerseys in a better condition than they found them. I think that having had the success on the Australian tour, and then having the achievement that they have on this tour, I think it's on an upward graph.
4 years is a fair time away until 2021, but how important within these interim years is it to see Springbok rugby get to a point that's going to make that tour as competitive as it needs to be?
Well, one would hope so. I mean, they have their own problems, as we all know, in both Australia and South Africa. But I think our teams will be competitive in the future. I think we've had an exceptional tour this time. I sat in on selection, and I can tell you that was a long task, comparing every player with every other player. And I don't think places have ever been competed for so vehemently. Let's hope that that's the same on the next tour, but I do feel we've had an exceptionally talented squad on this tour.
John, can you speak a little bit about the role that Sam has played as captain again?
You won't hear me say a bad word about Sam Warburton, I think he's been an exceptional captain. He gets the mood of every meeting. He gives great encouragement to the players, and of course in the first test he had to show some character with not being selected, and he did that and came back as captain. So I can't praise Sam too much. I think he is an exceptional captain.
Well, the word legacy is used quite a lot, but can a series like this leave a legacy, or will the legacy of the Lions be that it may have sorted the future if these things go wrong due to the success?
I think that the legacy that I would like to see from this tour is one of integrity, of dignity, of discipline, in fact our core values. I've always said that if we went away with integrity, we'd be happy, but that was a small lie because we wanted to win as well, and that was the main objective. But I think that the Lions, I mean, you guys have seen the atmosphere here in New Zealand. You know how much the Lions tours mean to New Zealand, not just to the playing aspect, but to the economy and to the general welfare of rugby here. And I think we will leave a legacy here that is valuable, that is positive, and it will make them want us to come again.
John, you talk about the value of the shirt, the legacy of the shirt, but in the middle of the tour there was discussion that it had been devalued when those 6 new players were brought in. This, in retrospect, there was clearly a policy decision that changed in the middle of all that. Would you do that differently now, or for future tours? You clearly need some backup at some stage, but would you do it differently in the future?
I think that's probably a decision for the coaches. I understand the problems that it could cause, and we discussed those before the teams left for New Zealand. Warren was always concerned that the 23 that he picks from for the first test and beyond, that they need to be protected, that they can't play 2 matches in the same week, including a test, and so they need to be protected. The simplest thing to do at that stage was to bring those who had to travel the least distance for obvious reasons, because if you start bringing them from Argentina, they have jet lag again, and they're just getting over it when they have to go home. But there was no intention to throw Lions jerseys away like confetti. The boys who came knew exactly why they were coming and what the score was, and they were very anxious to take part in the training, and I think they'll be better players because of that experience. Only 2 of them played. The intention was that they would be on the bench to protect the main squad, and that's how it worked. I would take coaches' advice on what should happen in the future. They're the experts, and they know better than anyone the pressures and the intensity on the squad players.
John, if you had 1 more week's preparation, would you want to?
My honest opinion is yes. I think that the preparation is extremely important. But as I said earlier, I think we're making very positive steps already to talk about and rectify that situation. And I've received incredible cooperation from the board on that. And you know, there are 4 of us who are ex-Lions there and who know about the intensity and preparation. I think what I would say is that gold medals are won on the training pitch a long time before they're won on the match pitch.
John, just a question about Warren. How important do you think it was in this tour, his ability to sort of read the Kiwi psyche and understand the New Zealander and how they think?
I think Ian McGeechan actually made that point several weeks ago, that you can't hope to beat the All Blacks unless you understand the people in the country, to understand their culture, to understand their way of life and their attitude to rugby. And I think Warren does understand the New Zealand psyche, and I think there are plenty of instances on tour when that has come to the fore and helped us.
If he was taking interest in the All Blacks job and taking, do you think,
Sorry, what would I?
If he was taking interest in the All Blacks job 2019. What would your advice be to rugby?
I don't want to take anything away from Wales because he's got a job to do there. But the future, I think that his achievements on this tour have opened up the future for him. As I've said earlier, I think he's the best coach in the world, and I think he's proved that with our guys. It's an incredible achievement to come halfway around the world, to adapt to all the difficulties you have with travelling, and then to play back-to-back world champions on their own park, and to be as successful as he has been. And to put in a performance like the boys did in the second test, that's a great achievement for any coach in the time that was afforded to him.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.